Namaste.
Namaste, you guys.
Namaste.
Good to see all your faces. Okay.
Come in a little bit?
Yeah, let's see you in the frame.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah, let's go. Right, well, we kind of do 2 sessions a year, basically, at this point, and we wanted to get together. We did one at the beginning of the year, where we set our intentions, what do we want for the year, and towards the end of the year now, getting ready and preparing for next year, and also kind of keeping ourselves in check and seeing how have we done with our intention and our purpose this year. Because everything, we read about, especially in today's day, everybody's talking about purpose. Many of my clients, are always coming to me and saying, I don't feel well, for example. And then when we get down to the root of it, even the health problems in the body, and especially the mind, come from a lack of purpose, loss of interest in purpose, don't have an intention. And one thing came up with somebody the other day was the day-to-day stuff, it's boring, or I don't know, I can't get through it. So we tend to focus on that big thing, which is our purpose. I want to do this. I want to write a book. I want to meditate every day, the bigger purposes. But then along the way, we have our day-to-day things that we do, which include work, which include family, which include friends, which include health, which include exercise, and our spiritual practice in the morning. So finding that balance, I find when speaking with everybody, is the toughest thing, because how do you balance all of these things in a row and repeat them day after day after day with interest, right? And I find that that's the biggest thing for everybody that I've been talking to over the last 6 or 7 months since we did the last session. And that is where a lot of you had asked me, I don't know about J-Ma, but asked me about how do we stay in that zone all the time to be able to repeat all the things that we're doing, and also do them all in balance. Who's asking you?
Well, I mean, we just did a series on that. So obviously that was, the series that we do usually are the most prevalent questions that people are asking, so that we can serve you collectively what's most asked. And so the most current series is on Sankalpa, which is intention. And it really gets down, if you have done the whole series, to, in the beginning, remember, we're multidimensional beings. So we have a physical plane of consciousness, energetic, mental, emotional, higher intellectual, and then spiritual. And when you start to work in this practice with all of the intentions, quite often in the beginning, they're on that first plane of consciousness, which is our physical one, right? So the different physical aspects, whether of your life or of your body. Then it can go more into emotional and mental things that you want to improve or correct, different behavioral patterns that are causing you to suffer that you want to rewire and correct. And then it'll go into, it starts to lead, as you continue to practice, the consciousness rises to the higher koshas, dimensions of our existence. And then we start to get into what is my purpose, right? What does the actual Atma, the soul's intention here in this experience, in this lifetime. So that's why we did the series. So yeah, I believe that's a really good question.
Ultimately, whatever we're looking for, everybody's common ground is balance. I want to find balance, because we tend to just keep going up and down, and that's part of life. We know that. But it's the highs at times need controlling as well, because if you go too high, then you're going to drop down as well. And it's for me, it's how do we keep these nice journey going up and down, like a nice wave that goes up and down. And every day we're accomplishing things in our own mind. Because remember, when you speak about the word accomplishment, you're talking about something that's in your own head. It's not in my head. It's not in the world's head. Nobody else knows about it. Even if you tell them about it, you're the one living whatever it is you want to accomplish, right? So if you set out your intention at the beginning of this year, when we spoke, and you said, I want to, do meditation every day, or I want to get up earlier and do my practice every day, that's in your head. Many other people have, maybe the same ideas, but how are you going to get there? Because what you're dealing with is the rest of your life is maybe going against what you're trying to accomplish, right? If you stay up late, you eat late, you go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, then you go to work till 6 o'clock, things are working already against you, because all your habits are working against you getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, then spending 30 minutes and, So in the same way, if you want to accomplish a better diet or whatever it is in your life, we have to set some of the other things in our life in order to support that thing that we want to accomplish, right? It's no good saying, I want to write a book this year, but I'm going on holiday. Then I'm going to start, Pilates 8 times a week. Then I'm going here. You know what? I'm going to visit my family in England. Then you're just setting up yourself, or I would be for failure. And failure meaning I'm not reaching my goal. So preparation, and the reason the spiritual books talk about preparation so deeply is whatever you want to set out to do, you have to set your ducks in a row in the back end, let's call it, of those new habits that are going to support you in what you aim to do, right? So that's something to think about when we're talking about balance, because many of the people we work with say, I want this. So then my mind goes straight into, well, you're going to have to do this, 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 and this to support that. Are you willing to do these things? And then we end up coming back to the same thing is, what's your willingness to do something? We tend to come back to that. And we have to have a deep kind of connection with something to actually do it. So those small sankalpas, those small intentions and things you have going, they're achievable. You can do those pretty quickly. But it's those deeper ones that take, months and years that you have to spend a little bit more time. The reason I tell people it's easier to start a lifestyle in Ayurveda or in yogic sciences is because of this reason. You tend to start to change all your habits around your life to find that balance. If, say, you just want to lose weight, for example, and science always comes in and says the reason weight loss is a short-term thing, not a long-term thing, is because of that reason. If you want to lose weight, but then you're going out to dinner and then you're staying up late with your friends and then you're drinking and then it doesn't work. So it might work for a week or two or whatever. Change your lifestyle, you will naturally lose weight, right? You'll go to that weight you're supposed to be. So I think, I have this thing in my head all the year has been, and I did a few videos on it, was asking ourselves what we want. And we've done this. We've sat across from each other on occasion when, I tend to go off in my mind and I dream a lot about different things, because in my astrological chart, I have she's always telling me an exalted Venus. So I think the world is fine. So I have to be grounded in reality at times, because I just think all things are fine all the time, right? And then when you're coming to make a
Not
decision,
fine, beautiful. You think all things are beautiful always, like the worst suffering, and it's so beautiful.
Well,
that's an exalted Venus, which is
yeah,
in his chart.
yeah.
So his actual perspective is that things could be, there could be a lot of suffering and which you could shift, but he'll just see the beauty in it, which is.
Well, I see the
Beautiful in
potential in not suffering, and then I see the suffering has purpose in myself and in others, right? Of course, I don't always share this with everybody, because if you're suffering, you don't always want to hear how beautiful it is. But in things that we're doing at times together, we sit and we say, what is it we want? So it's a conversation I have with myself at times as well, because I see things always as beautiful, but then smaller things, it doesn't matter, but life-changing things like, say, moving a home or going to live somewhere else, and we're connecting and talking about it, I have to put aside that sort of rose-colored glasses and
This is what happens, okay? Sometimes we discover that we have conflicting intentions. So as a couple and as a unit, you actually have to sit down together and say, wait, but I've been sankalpaing this and doing it towards this, and he's sankalpaing this. So where our intentions, are clashing with one another. Like something happened that shifted my intention, that I was like, that wasn't in my sankalpa. And he was like, oh no, I was intentioning that. And I looked and went, wait a second, we got to communicate that. So, especially in I say a yogic partnership. By yogic, I mean a mindful partnership where you're doing these practices. It's good to communicate, even family, collective, intention setting with family, if you're living in the same house and stuff, because then you're all supporting one another's intentions, and things don't clash.
yeah, because you're sharing an energy in the house, right? So your intentions are clashing with others if you live with them and you've decided to do something together, and then you're thinking of two different things.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're talking about. So when I ask you to contemplate what you want, because somebody may say, I really want to be healthy. I don't feel well. Somebody else said, I'm going into menopause. I'm always hard. I'm not uncomfortable. I just want to be feeling better. Whether it's health at the physical level, mental level, or spiritual level, you have to know why you want that thing, right? So you want mental health. I want calmness. Why? Well, I want to sleep better. Okay, well, if you sleep better, what are you going to do with all that energy in the morning? We all have these hidden desires that we need to put on the table, so to speak, in our own minds, or even write it down. Because often we want something different than we're even thinking about or speaking about. So that's something to contemplate, because I find more and more I'm coming to that. I had a lady who's in chemotherapy with cancer. I started with that question. What is it you want? I had somebody, has headaches all the time, or at certain times. What is it you want? Once we get down to that thing of what you want, then we can start to work on it, because health is a mental, physical and spiritual journey. It's not just, okay, I'm going to take this pill and I'm going to get better. No, the root cause is still there, right? If you play something in your mind all the time, like a movie, it's still there, it's playing. So we want to get down to the bottom of, and you should do the same. What is it I actually want?
So every detail that he's speaking about is in this new series. We put a lot of work together on addressing every aspect of all of our clients and the people that we're working with, and fulfilling the needs of others. So he first talks about, what do you want? The series begins with that, really going into all of your desires, discovering them. Sometimes you don't even know, just going into that aspect of the mind of desire, that energy within the days of your lives. and becoming consciousness of it, becoming aware of it all. Then it goes into meditative contemplation, where you contemplate all of those desires to discover, which ones might be most important to you. You go through the process of what is going to have to change in my life to manifest this desire, this intention, right? Things are going to have to, what time is going to be needed every day? All the different shifts. How will this affect the days of my life? How will this affect my relationships? All of that is considered in the meditative contemplation in this series. Then it goes into what Yogi was speaking about is willpower. And this is, and it's what our guru will say is the big kind of like spiritual epidemic of the day, is that we're at a lack of willpower to really endure, to realize our long-term goals. And this is also addressed in the series, is when you tune in to your heart intelligence, which is your feelings. So once you've said, contemplated, okay, this is what would have to change. This is how I could make this work. This is still important to me. Now you bring it to life in a meditative process within the mind, where you're actually living this reality, and you feel into how important is this for me? Because that feeling, that attachment of how important it is for me, it's not the mind anymore. It's completely the heart. That's going to help support you through the process of realizing long-term intentions and desires. And all of that is addressed, and you learn those practices in the Sankalpa series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's your body's involved, but really you're thinking about it. Then, like Jema said, you go into the heart to manifest it. Right? It's kind of like male and female energy. The female energy is very creative. The masculine energy gets things done. It moves you forward, right? Because it's hot. And it's kind of those two things they're at play, and they're in you, right? So you're a woman or you're a man, that's just the body, but you are masculine and feminine, and you're using both of those things. They kind of move you forward. You just got to know is, when do I use the masculine energy and when do I use the feminine? So the feminine really is about the heart, because it's creative, it's nurturing, it knows patience. All of those things are very much a feminine quality.
Yeah, well, it is the heart, yes, but it's just masculine and feminine are literally just the two hemispheres of our brain. That's why you see these ancient forms of the half male, half female. It's literally just depicting the two hemispheres of the brain. One is our physical, outward, active, analytical, energetic energy that we have, and that energy is both consciousness and energy. We're physically making it happen, and it's also an intelligence. Then there's the female aspect, is the one that is more internal, more meditative, more emotional, they're just different opposite hemispheres of the brain. So both of those energies exist in our consciousness, and collectively also exist within the heart intelligence, because there is no separation. Everyone's always trying to separate Shiva and Shakti like they're two separate principles, but they're not. Shiva is intelligence and Shakti is energy. Together, everything in manifest creation in this universe, there's intelligence behind energy. They're a united whole. They're inseparable, and sometimes we experience energy and its manifestation, but consciousness was always there. Intelligence was always there in order for that to manifest. So no separation. That's why Shiva and Shakti is like this, one eternal whole.
And when we're talking about balance, you need both of them. That is what balance. You can't be too analytical all the time. You can't be too in the heart all the time.
Yes, that's when people get to burn out, because they're so emotional. They're fiery people. They're achievers. They're CEOs. They usually run their own businesses. a lot of successful people are very, operating on more that Shiva, or let's say that hemisphere of the brain, and then more people that are more healers and, definitely in our world, the spiritual world, or people that are much more emotional, are operating in the Shakti more.
Yeah.
It's a very general idea. Still, both are always there, but to understand that a little deeper.
And naturally, you'll be a little bit more of one or the other.
Yes.
And the one that you're more of, you don't need to focus on that side so much. You need to nurture the other side, right? If you're very much in the heart, you're very emotional, then you need to, and your body is probably will run a little colder maybe as well, cooler, let's say. Then you need to create a bit more heat and get more in the mind to get things done, right? And vice versa, the other way around as well. So these are all the different ways we're keeping in balance. Because when people say, how do I stay in balance? It's a scientific way, basically, body, mind, spirit, right? People who are very healthy, I've taken up playing pickleball like in the last year or so. I play with 20-year-olds now. I'm in my 50s. They're not worried about that. Their mind and body is, it's flowing, it's going, it's doing its thing. But then at times when I'm talking to them, they're spiritually, they haven't thought about things because maybe they're younger, they're not there. So they're suffering that way. A lot of them, mental health is also an issue, although they're very fit and they have no bodily problems. So really the balance is of all those three levels. This temple is just keeping everything together so the mind doesn't need to be disturbed by bodily functions. That's basically it. So it's free to think, work, be involved, do spiritual practice, and then evolve spiritually as well. So that's sort of the perfect balance.
Well, we're kind of set up. It's funny, and we always laugh because we're all kind of set up, towards aggravating our own nature, which leads to suffering. Because if you're more hot in nature and you're more physical and outward, or if you're the opposite, more cool and mental and emotional, you're attracted to those things. So that which already is the predominant energy is what you're attracted to do more of. For example, yoga class is the greatest thing. You have like a restorative yoga, and then you have like a vinyasa flow, level 3 yoga. It's always the rajasic Shiva aspect, go fiery people that are in the vinyasa classes, and it's always the Shakti, more mental, emotional, more tamasic people that are in the restorative yoga. And it should be the exact opposite to bring us the balance. So we're actually attracted to that, which is going to cause us to further suffer. So in yoga, it's called Pratipaksha Bhavana. Do the opposite. Which is this little trick, like what? You're like, but I want to do that. We'll do the opposite. And if you actually make that awareness a part of, the days of your life, it's going to naturally bring you balance, So do the opposite of what you want to do or what you think you should do.
Yeah, like sleep is a big issue people talk about. And I was doing a video on it because I was saying, if you're genuinely really burnt out, you've worked a lot, you've been doing physical things, mentally you're kind of drained because sleep a little bit more. But if you sleep more just because you want to get 8 hours or 9 hours or whatever it is in your head, you're still not going to sleep well and get the rest that you want, because the body needs a certain amount of rest that I can't tell you how much that is. It's very in the moment, night to night. That's the way it is. You are in your own body. You have to read what that is. If you stay up and you watch something, TV till 11 o'clock at night, then you expect to get a good night's sleep. It's probably not going to happen, unless you're watching flowers and I don't know, some shark, underwater stuff, calming things, but still you're watching TV, it's rays of light.
Nobody's watching National Geographic at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So, yeah. So if you're not supporting your sleep, in the right way, then you can't get the right amount. But the right amount is the perfect amount day to day. You've got to read your own body. What have I been doing all day? Okay, based on that, how do I feel? Right? Then I sleep the appropriate amount. It's a certain amount of hours. Some day it's 5 hours, some day it's 6 hours, some day it's 4.5 hours, some day it's 8 hours, 20 minutes. Don't worry about the hours. Don't get into that mental state of I have to get this, because then you're limiting yourself, and then you will wake up and go, I just didn't sleep enough. And it has nothing to do with the amount you've slept. Often you've slept an hour too much, and now the body's gone into that sort of grogginess, which is not helping you. Because even if you wake up a little earlier, you'll find that once you get going, within 30 minutes, you actually feel much better.
It's kind of just deconstructing all of our attachment to numbers in general. And that is, a yogic practice, because whether it's about sleep, saying, we suffer then suddenly, like I didn't get my 7 hours sleep. I only got 6.5 hours, I only got 5 hours. And so I'm going to be tired all day. We just set our intention up for the day. We just did it, right? So, or like, I have to have 2 cups of coffee in the morning. I haven't had my cup of coffee in the morning. I'm going to suffer. So we have all these numbers that we're attached to that cause us to suffer. So kind of just like deconstruct and like see the numbers melt away and just tune into how do I feel? No, I actually amaze myself. Sometimes I just get really busy in the morning and I was like, oh, I haven't even had a tea yet. And it's like 2.5 hours into the morning, because this aspect of not just holding on to this is going to bring me this and this numbers of, objects, numbers, all of it. It's all just mind stuff. So really tuning into, do I feel rested? Do I feel nourished? Am I hungry? How much food do I need to eat? We talk about that all the time, of people think they have to eat a certain amount of food, and we're programmed. I don't know, made me think all of our parents or our grandparents for sure told us to finish our plate, right? And you had to sit down until you finished your plate. Now suddenly we're like, no, you don't have to finish your plate. Just eat till you're full. This, whatever's served to you doesn't mean that that's right for you.
Yeah, put whatever's put on your plate. What you put a little bit less on your plate than you think you want, and then you can always get more.
And then if some days I'm hungry, sometimes I literally look at him, I'm like, wow, my Agni is like, I'm going for a third helping, because we do these smaller, bits of food. And he's like, no guilt. There's nothing. The body needs that. Like if I need 3 servings that day, I'm going to take 3 servings, It's not of cake, okay? It's like of, the food with khichdi and sambar and vegetables and stuff like that. So just just try and let all those numbers and attachments, that is the journey, become further and further away from your consciousness.
Yeah, more food when you've done physical labor, more sort of herbal teas and supportive herbs when you need more mental support, because food is great for grounding, but it's also great for nourishing the body. But when the mind needs nourishing, we don't really need food, maybe a small amount, but not, I find herbal teas and things that support the mind when sort of we have more stress, for example, is better. Because when we have more stress and then we eat, the digestion is usually off. So we always say, don't eat when you have stress,
Or emotional. If you are upset about anything, just wait to eat.
Yeah, have a calming tea, sit, contemplate, get to the root of things, because all things are happening to teach us continuously. I think the frustration that happens is when we keep repeating the same lesson, then we get frustrated. New lessons don't tend to frustrate any of us, maybe for a moment, but then we kind of get into, oh, how do I solve this? But it's that old patterns in all of us that we kind of go around in circles and say, I should have learned this by now. That's the most frustrating sort of thing. So differentiating between old patterns and new lessons, those are 2 different things to differentiate. So why don't we jump in, and somebody's got a question based on what we just talked about, something that you want to speak about yourself. Just stick your hand up or unmute yourself, and then we can talk.
Or we'll just keep talking.
Yeah, Sandy, you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Great to see you.
Good to see you. Always.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's great to hear about the numbers, right? Because our society right now is hugely into numbers for physical health. And I kind of go down and do that research and look at that, like your glucose monitoring, your sugar levels, how are you balanced throughout the day, depending on your exercise, what you ate, how you're feeling. And that's been very interesting to me as well, because you're trying to, again, it all comes back to balance, right? When you listen to other, medical people, it's always the same messaging you're hearing. It's just said differently. And then other tools in order to get to that balance. So, and I have to say, I do research those things, and then I always kind of come back to the yoga path and to make certain you don't, because again, it's an industry, as you guys have spoken about, and but yeah, that was kind of refreshing to hear that, to kind of bring you back. So you're not looking at all these tools in order to balance yourself. But sometimes you need a little tool to kind of know, I know I'm probably doing something, I'm eating something that's incorrect, but how is it really affecting my body? Because all of our bodies are different. So thank you for that. And just, chatting a little bit about that.
Yeah. Everything we say, somebody today made a comment on Instagram about we need more knowledge. And I was thinking knowledge is one part of it, right? Taking action on the knowledge is another part of it. But being in your own body and being very present with yourself is an ultimate place to be, because nobody, even when you come to me and I'm reading your body and your eyes and your skin and everything, literally within 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes, things are changing. So you have to know, if you stick the air conditioner on sometimes, things are shifting in your body straight away. You're not the same person as when you went to the doctor and asked them something then, right? And just to say, I never went to a doctor for, I don't know, 35 years, 40 years, whatever it was. And then I went just to see,
we live down now, as anyone knows that's been with us here in Huntington Beach, next to my mom. And my mom's worked as a neonatal nurse her whole life at the hospital here. She manages the unit. So naturally, and by the way, we're forced to have medical insurance, even though we never see doctors, because we have to have it. So you just have, it's called the wellness, man's wellness and women's wellness. And
once a year,
we're paying for it. Once a year, we're supposed to go. Well, every like 3 or 4 years, I tell him, can you just, we paid for it. Just, what does it matter? Just go do like tests. Like it's already paid for anyway. And it makes my mom really happy. And then we get a real kick out of it because he, torments the doctors.
No, I don't.
You should have seen him. Tell them what happened.
I have great respect for doctors, for all our chats that we always have.
Oh, yeah.
I always say that, doctors are great in emergencies. Hospitals are amazing for surgeries, all that stuff. But that stuff is 1 or 2% of your life.
Yes.
Right? It's not every day. So we're discussing every day. So I went, I did all the blood tests and everything. And my cholesterol came back 5% higher. 2 or 3 of the cholesterols, right? So it was a young guy, Chinese guy, and he said, "Oh, my, parents do Chinese medicine and stuff." So we got talking, and he said, "I'm not really going to prescribe you anything because it's kind of very low. Why don't you, do you eat meat?" I said, "I don't. I'm not eating anything that's making fat really." So he said it must be hereditary. So he took me to the side of the government where they work out the numbers. And I said, well, I came here like 4 years ago, put my put my age in as 51. Now I'm 55. Put it as 51 in the same algorithm. My cholesterol went down, right? So I said, well, put me as 45. So my cholesterol, it showed, was normal. So it was an age thing. It had nothing to do with the numbers of my cholesterol. It had to do with I got older, right? So over the years, numbers have been, blood pressure has been changed, blood sugar has been changed, heart rate has been changed. So suddenly a few million people, or somebody like me, suddenly has, could be taking medication. Now I had, I'm obviously cognizant of it, and we had a nice chat about it. And then he was like, well, if you want to take yeast, red right yeast, that will, it's a Chinese thing for bringing down cholesterol. So he was very open-minded. Some doctors are not, some, because they feel you shouldn't take the risk and all that kind of stuff. But the point of this is you need not to be so into the numbers itself. It's more about how do I feel and how have I felt for a while and what's changing in my body, right? So I was actually happy to go do all the blood tests and everything and, find out glucose was this and that. I'm not really paying too much attention to it. But what I am doing is saying, well, it's giving me some information and knowledge that's useful, right? It's actually all useful. It's just when you start to zone in and get too paranoid or too into something, that's what's not positive. But use all of the knowledge, use all of it, don't be against any of it. Just be more cognizant of it, and then be very, in your own body present. So when you hear something that doesn't sit well with you, because I've consulted with many people who've been misdiagnosed, and then when we get down to the bottom of it, they've been, they didn't have what they actually, the doctor thought, because people make mistakes. It's not that they're bad people, so you just need to be, not too attached to all these numbers and things. Martin. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Namaste, Martin.
Namaste.
Namaste.
About yogi is it's very healing time now, 2 times a year with you. And we were starting to know each other a little bit. And I write a lot in the comments, Yogi, about thank you for your healing and knowledge, because to me, life is 2 things. It's either knowledge or ignorance. Because when you do, when you do things that are right, you live right, you do the right things, you have the knowledge. Because when you do bad things and wrong decisions, it's ignorance, because no one wants to hurt ourselves or others. It's because we don't know, or you're in a mindset that you don't know. So it's those 2 things.
Yeah, vidya or avidya,
So now I just want to say thank you again for this sharing of knowledge. And I just want to know, are you going to add other things on the site, like on other sessions of new practices?
The site has got a lot of practices. The thing, just, the people who've been with us for a long time, the thing we don't do is just keep putting out things. What we do is say what's useful as a practice, because ultimately information is out there everywhere. Knowledge is different than information. Information is something about something. Knowledge is something about something specific and how to do it. And then the practice comes in. So we give you the knowledge, then there's the practice, then you got to do the practice. The practices that we put out are not for a week. Some of these practices, we ourselves are doing it. We even go back to doing basic practices to see if we're doing them still properly. As some people think, well, it's sort of become part of culture, is give me advanced practices or give me beginner practices. The practice is the practice. It's like the highway. If you're a new driver on the highway, you're probably doing 60, 65, and you're watching everything and you're kind of cognizant of it. If you're a pretty good driver, you're probably going about 75 and you're not paying as much attention. And if you're a really good driver, you're going at however speed you want, you're zigzag, you're doing whatever you want. Practice is the same. It just depends on how you're doing it. How long are you doing it for? You know, how deeply are you in it? Are you doing it every day? That's your journey. So we don't tend to just, that's why we put out practices every 2 weeks. Pretty much all sites I know put out stuff every day. They're putting out a video every day. They're doing it. It's impossible to
a minute
do
video.
yeah. Or every week they're putting out 2 things. This
Yeah,
isn't
but what I mean is like adjustments, like add-ons, because like exercise, everything, because I feel that the mental meditations that I do, I take it from other sites also. It's like I've hit a plateau. There is no, I can fall into, I don't know what to say because I'm French.
well,
I
no,
fall into meditation state easier, quicker, and it's like there's no like, I was noticing that things were getting with the anxiety and stress management and all of that. For a year, I started to notice, and now it's like it's always the same. I don't know how to explain it. My reactions are the same. I have no like more deeper and deeper, like you seem to talk about, with years and years, because it's been 7 years, and I feel like I've hit a plateau of what I'm supposed to feel like, my way of seeing things, or it's like my brain. I don't know. You understand what I mean?
That's just practice. We're all in the same place. I'm not getting, you know, I don't do my practice every day and suddenly there's lots of revelations. I'm sitting because I already have enough knowledge, right? I'm not looking for new knowledge. I'm just looking to practice and practice and practice. And it's not that we're having these big things happening every day. A lot of them are very subtle, and they may happen every 3 months. You just have to be so present every day to be able to know what that is. Somebody sent me a story. I have a brother in India, and we always laugh about his spiritual brother. And we're laughing about, you know, we do all this practice and nothing's happening half the time. What's going on in here? We're always teasing each other exactly about this. And he said, yeah, you know the bird story, the bird that keeps its beak open all the time, just in case one drop of nectar from somewhere falls, you know, randomly. He's always got his beak open. He's ready. And he may have to do that 30 years and nothing happens. But when it does, it's beautiful. So you've got to be very patient. Remember, nothing, when we're talking about numbers with Sandy, there are no numbers. We've made up everything in this world of ours, right? There is no time. We made up the clock, right?
I know, but
so we've made up all these things. They're all in our head, and we all use them in different ways. The reason the rishis put out these practices, you know, thousands of years ago, was because of this reason. They knew we're going to be stuck in our head with all these numbers, with all these ideas, with all this mumbo jumbo that goes on. You just got to stay present and keep practicing and know, why am I doing the practice? And Guru will always say, do the practice, don't think about the result.
Yes.
We don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know when it's going to happen, but you blink, you could miss it. So your work and my work is only to do the practice. It's not to keep collecting knowledge or information. It's just to keep doing the practice. One mantra, a guy asked me yesterday, he said, I only do Gayatri mantra. I was like, fantastic, keep doing that. Well, maybe I need another one. No, you don't. That mantra will expand and expand and expand and expand if you allow it to. But you've got to keep doing it, right? If you want to be great at, you know, a superstar soccer player is only a superstar because he keeps doing that practice every day. He doesn't go play tennis and then go play, you know, something else and play, and then say, Well, I'm not getting that great at football, or soccer.
Let me give you an example of the power of one practice, like a mantra. Okay, so I'll take, he was saying Gayatri, it's, let's use Om Namah Shivaya because it's less syllables for you to understand.
I know the Gayatri, I know the entire
cool.
Gayatri.
I mean, it's just more syllables, so we can use Gayatri if you want. When you
No, for the example, for others, it's okay.
When you are chanting the Gayatri mantra, every single one of those syllables is actually sparking energy in the energy centers along the spinal column. It is illuminating centers within the mind. Now, if you just chant it 3 times a week, that will happen 3 times a week. If you chant it continuously for 365 days for 10 years, it's a continuous flow of that energy in Gayatri's totality. So it'll literally expand your consciousness within time. It's also, and I'll go back to Om Namah Shivaya, because it's less syllables and you can become aware of each energy center that it is. So you can start by just chanting Om Namah Shivaya, but then you can start by becoming aware and letting your awareness travel as you chant it to the specific energy centers that it hits, right? Om Namah Shivaya in the heart. So it's going up and down. And as you chant it, your awareness keeps going up and down the spine, up and down the spine. It's about deepening our awareness in the practice. And when you deepen your awareness in the practice, you are going to have a more expanded experience. So
this is what I'm doing. That's why I was confused, because I do the Gayatri, the short version 5 times in the morning, the long version 20 half an hour every day before I come back from work at my home. I find a place that it's comfortable, no sound, everything, because I live in a big apartment building. It's very distracting. And I do the Jaya mantra also for health and longevity.
yes,
Another Shiva mantra. So that's why, because each of them are supposed to. My question, what I wanted is that each are supposed to invoke something in you. If you read what the powers are of each divinities, this is the main reason why I do it, because I want to focus on these parts of my life spiritually to help me out,
right.
to find the answers that I don't know.
But they are helping you out. And they're actually scientifically helping you out, because as you chant that, you are then creating a sound frequency around you throughout the days of your life. Mahamrityunjaya will prevent illnesses from happening, lots of suffering from happening, and illnesses of the body, tragedies. They say it's death, but it's death of so many different aspects within us. So that's Mahamrityunjaya. When you chanted it, it is doing that every day. When you chant Gayatri, it's illumination, it's expanded consciousness. It is doing that. If you've continued to practice for the past 10 years and you've been chanting Gayatri, you must know that it is that chanting of the couple days of Gayatri that it's continuing to support you in the days of your life on this journey and on this path.
The Gayatri, I found that
it is doing its work. Now, what there are sometimes it's called anushtam. And anushtam is when you increase the amount of japa. So if you want to have an experience, I could say, try fasting for 7 days and increase your Gayatri to 1,000 times and immerse yourself in 2 to 4 hours of chanting Gayatri. And then let's talk.
I'm
quite serious. Then try fasting for 1 day and increase your Gayatri to 100 japa. Okay, I'm giving you extremes because we do these anushtams.
I
finished 45 days of intense mantra japa where I went 6 hours every morning. So we keep doing these things. You can, if you feel that you would like to have a deeper experience, increase the repetition.
Mhm.
and
You answered my
also
question.
lighten the body so that you can become aware of all of these subtle higher frequencies that will be an effect of that practice.
Yeah.
Oh, you answered my question. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
the repetition.
It's
Yeah.
all practice.
Try it just for a day.
Yeah.
Try fasting for a day and increase your Gayatri to do one mala of 108.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then write
And then
your
after sit.
experience where we all chat on the Facebook group, because that encourages other people to see your experience, because everything we want just takes practice. That's all it is. And
With that said, though, I do want to let you know that we are, of course, continuously working on other practices, you know, so Yogi's working on a morning practice. A lot of people want to know about all the different shot karmas and oiling the body and different things like that. I'm really focusing on guided meditations because I do understand that although we've given you the practices to be independent of having to listen to us all the time or do yoga with us or do meditation with us, that we will be doing more guided, I'll be focusing on more guided meditations to help everyone go deeper, you know, into their practice. So
I just want to end with you're very motherly, Jaima, and you're very healing. Your guided, the ones that you're already doing are very healing. I just want to say.
thanks, Bob. Hi, Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Hi, folks. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, super. The headsets are working. Excellent. Hi, Yogi Cameron, Yogi Jama. It's been so great to see you. And I always keep you in my thoughts, in my heart. And Jamie says hello. That's my husband, everyone. Hi, everyone on the call, too. I've been,
Amy's one of my favorite stories to tell, Evelyn.
Yeah, we tell.
Go ahead.
We do. Okay, so her husband came with her to support her years and years and years and years ago at our house when we did a yoga Ayurveda summer intensive. And he just wanted to do it with her. And he was like, I mean, New Yorker, drinking martinis, eating steaks. And he was like, all right, I'll do this for you for a couple of days. And then, you know, we'll make it a weekend of it and whatever. And he did this intensive. And then he came back a couple years later when she was doing, was it, or what, another thing. And
with you.
With
Yeah.
us.
Female connecting.
In our gift bag that, first of all, when he walked in the entrance of the house, because he isn't one of our clients, but he's Evelyn's husband. And when he walked in to the entrance of the house, he was a different person. His skin, his eyes, his posture, he lost the weight. And he brought the little portable yoga mat that we had gifted everyone in their gift bags that was like totally run down and torn. He took those practices, and this is a perfect example of what we were just talking about. He took the practices that we taught that weekend and just continued to practice it for 3 years. And it changed its life. And it's so amazing that some people can just get it like that and do it. Aww. Oh my
I was just a month ago.
Yeah.
He's doing handstands at the gym, and you know, he's more yogi than me for sure.
It's amazing.
and we went in for me.
I tell his story all the time because it's just remarkable, you know. That's so true that the proof is in the practice, you know. Totally transformed his life.
It sure did. It sure did. So I'm happy to share that with everybody because we went in for me because of my digestion and just the way we were eating and living wasn't healthy for me. And here he took it on one step further and lead by example. And so he's been inspiration to me as well. So incentivizing me to go to the gym. And what I wanted to bring up is in the past 4 years, something that's probably popular with everyone, female menopause and hair loss. And I've been experiencing that quite a bit. I know Yogi Cameron, we talked about this, changing my lifestyle. We went from steak dinners, martinis, going to yoga. So you have to know I'm eating less meat. And if I do, I eat a little bit at lunchtime. So just also I stopped drinking coffee because it just made sense. You know, I went to get some tea And at the store, she says, "Did you have the Good Earth Healthy Store by me?" Said, "You had coffee?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Let me guess, you put sugar in it." I said, "Yes." And she said, "It's just all the pitta. You're hot. You're postmenopause is just adding on." I'm like, "Ah, that's what Yogi Cameron said." It's good to hear it, and hear others say it. And so, just like Martin, you probably get other sources and you triangulate that and you just figure out. So, since October of last year, I quit. I can't say I've cheated. I had a few coffee, would I have, the desire? It's just human, but I haven't had coffee since December of last year. Just trying to keep my heat down, my cooling of my body. I'm drinking more teas. I wasn't a tea drinker, if you remember Jama, but I am now. And it's wonderful learning about the teas and the types, the non-caffeine and the green teas. And it's just a new world. I like to just share that with everyone else who's also maybe going through what I went, which is not so much as a non-believer, but just, I'm the hardcore go-getter CEO of the world, go conquer this world, right? Yogi Karen knows I'm like, yeah, fiery. Even the yoga, yeah, let's do the hot yoga, and it's not like that. No more. I've changed to more calm, just trying to realize I need to focus on the normal day-to-day work. I put in my calendar, this whole COVID has been, I was working crazy hour, even more than when I went into the office. It was crazy for the past 2-3 years. I'm still working from home. But now in my calendar, I actually set aside an hour and a half for me, my blocking my time so I can go to the gym, do the nice calm yoga, and then come back and get back into it, just to melt it in all. One thing I wasn't doing was when we did my reading, wasn't putting together the yoga and the work. I was treating my spiritual and my other daily activities separately. But now, since it's taken me this long, like 3 years, believe it or not, to actually do that combination and treating it together. So I just wanted to share that with others because I still have the hair loss, but I'm trying to eat healthier. I'm not drinking, like the bottle of wine like we had for dinner anymore. If I do, it's one glass. I'm trying to just really scale down, right? I don't want to start cold turkey. I just try to, but it's been like that for the past year. So, it's a Friday night. I have a little bubbly. I love champagne. That's normal, I think, for most people, but at least it is for me. So I'm trying to change the way I think and adapt. But something that just came about in hearing other stories, I think I'm missing a mantra. And that's why I'm sharing this story, because I've gone through this journey with both of you and with my husband. And I just feel like maybe that's why I still don't see a change in my hair loss. It comes out just pulling it out. And
Did you
I
have
think it's
COVID,
postmenopausal.
Evelyn? Did you have COVID?
No, I never got it. My family got it.
Okay.
I'm one of those that I kind of,
So
completely
this is
isolated. I've never had it. I got the shots because work told me if I don't get it as a client, I can't go back to work with them. So
okay.
I had to get the stupid shot. I don't believe in that. But anyways, I did kind of force my hand to do so.
Do you
But
feel that the hair loss increased since the shot?
no, it's
No.
been the
Okay.
same for
Okay.
the past 3 years, but now more so where, I'm afraid to shower because I see it in the shower come
How
out.
many
And
how many days a week do you wash your hair?
I would say 4.
Okay. Okay. And do you oil the scalp?
I do.
You do.
I
What
do.
do
I
you,
use coconut oil at nighttime. I put the coconut oil here because it's hot. I feel the heat coming out. Remember, I used to say, Cameron, the heat is on my mouth, like the dragon. I feel like a dragon. Now I feel it here, and my feet are hot. And I think it was part of the whole postmenopause that I'm in now in that phase.
Yeah.
So I do oil with coconut or another Ayurvedic oil that I got from
Yeah. It's a combination of body heat rises when you go into menopause. So the other thing you can do is keep your feet cool. So the head and the feet and the eyes are all connected. They affect each other. So keeping the feet cool, whether not to ice them or anything like that, but like we have wood floors, so they kind of stay cooler. something, even if you have to put some ice on it for a moment, it will cool down the head itself. So it's not about drinking anything cold. It's not about that. It's more, even the cooling teas like peppermint and mint, and those are good for it. The herb shatavari and the herb bringaraj are great for that as well. Bringaraj spelled exactly like it said. And if you start to drink those and cool the system down, the head itself, coconut oil is fine. There are better oils, but I think one of the tricks is keeping the feet cooler. That will really help the top of the head cool down as well.
Okay. Awesome.
I have been going through this. I don't like to use medical terms because they're like you're premenopausal, but there have been shifts in the body as the body's getting older. I'm 47 now. So I started to experience hair loss. And I, being the scientist that I am, started trying different herbs and different treatments. And every time I wash my hair, I only wash my hair twice a week. So I'm not overstimulating the scalp. Okay. Also blow drying, pulling the roots, all of that. Right. Okay. But just noted, right? And I did experiments and I was losing 4 ounces of hair every 6 weeks. It's a lot of hair. You guys gotta see these plastic bags. I still have them.
Yeah.
First round, second round, third round, I wasn't really noticing any shifts until I started the Bringaraj Bhumya Malaki. So that was cooling the liver, right?
Yeah.
He gave me these things.
Yeah, we can write that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I switched to an oil within my hair that also was, we'll send you links to the oil, but there's a combination of Ayurvedic oils, right? But oiling the scalp and at least letting it stay on for a couple hours. I would always do it the night before and then put a towel on my pillow and sleep. And then wake up and then wash the hair. So it was really in the scalp. I take the tincture and I fill the tincture up with the oil, and then I slowly squeeze the tincture, and you don't even need to part the hair because you have the glass thing, right? And you go like, I would just go like this, and then I would go like this way, and then I would go like this way. So 3 tinctures, and then I would just start, in the head, all that, and then just pull the hair back and sleep. And a multivitamin. I didn't take multivitamins before. I've gotten my vitamins through food, but I tried he got me, anything herbal or medicinal is going to come from his consciousness. So he found me a liquid, one that's just from vegetables and fruit. So all natural. And here's the interesting thing, because this is what he tells me to do, which is maybe not what he tells everyone else. But I don't do anything daily because I don't want to be, how do you explain why I do that?
No, we never
to let the body to adapt and rather than becoming dependent on those things all the time. So the multivitamin thing I was doing 4 times a week. Although the herbal stuff, the Bringaraj, the Bhumya Malaki, 1 tea at night, and oiling the hair prior to all of that, boom, I went to 2 ounces of hair loss in 6 weeks. Now I'm down to like 1.5. Like my hair is back to restoring itself. Yeah.
That's great.
Cooling down the liver is part of it.
Yeah.
So that Bhumya Amalaki, BHU, Bhumya, YA, Amalaki, that cools down the liver. So we store a lot of emotions in the liver. And the liver naturally is heated already. So cooling it down a little bit helps with the hair as well. And then the last ingredient she's taking is Triphala at nighttime.
Oh yeah, that's just my life.
At nighttime.
Triphala every night, 365. I've been doing that for
So a
16
lot of
years.
you are taking our brand, which you know is the 108.
Yep.
We have, you can find it at 108.health. That triphala is liquid, it's liposomal, it absorbs very quickly. You can take it if you have acidity, but it's mainly for nighttime to start. And if you have, like you, if you created a lot of heat in the body, just take like double dosages at nighttime, because it will help to cool down the colon, which is another area of the body that needs a little help.
And by the way, I've already told him, please, next product be Bhumya Malaki and Bringaraj, because they're so awful to take. They're really difficult. These herbs that are so good for us. I mean, I was only taking 1 teaspoon of each at night, and oh my goodness, it just was unbearable. I'm still doing it. They're just not pleasant. And that's why the liposomes and going under the tongue just make it so much easier, bearable.
Yeah, we'll make one for the hair and supporting it with hormones. Yeah. Because a lot of the hair fall is hormonal as well.
Little trick, I would take a bag of like Tulsi tea or Tulsi rose tea, and like as if a tea bag, and I would mix the herbs together. So it would give it a little bit of, make it a little bit more pleasant, a little bit.
Okay.
Little bit.
But if you keep focusing on the hair, you'll drink it straight up.
Yeah. That's how I felt about the
gets you every time.
When you
That's how I felt about the trifala. Remember, I was like, oh, this is bitter. And then once I'm like, oh, this tells me poop. I'm like, oh, this is delicious. And now they're wonderful, you know?
Focus on the results while you're doing it.
Well, you know what the funny thing is I had trained myself. I'm telling you, the first time I went to India to study Ayurveda with his guru, Vasudevan, he was like, told me at that time, and he's a man of minimal words, but he told me, you know, for you, Triphala, for life. And I just noted, and so I have continued Triphala, and every night making this face absolutely unbearable. Then, you know, we have this product line, so I've been using our Triphala, right? But then we had run out of stock at home, so I had to go back to powder, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so bad again. But I'd gotten used to it, you know, after 15, 16 years, and then I got used to taking it this way. So we can get used to anything. Yeah. But it's nice to not suffer so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the advice, and great seeing you.
Great to see you, Evelyn.
Great to see you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
Okay, hi.
Love to Jamie.
Yeah.
Hello.
Namaste.
Hi.
Namaste.
Oh,
I appreciate you guys so much.
Okay.
hi. Go.
Hi. Oh, and am I talking?
Yes. We
I just wanted
we had to find you on the screen.
Okay. I just wanted to reflect a little bit about what you were saying earlier. Listening to your body and your intuition is so important. There's a lot of committees going on in our heads sometimes. So I've just learned over the last several years to pay attention. You know your body the best, right? If you just take the time to listen to it. So intuitively, I think that's important. And the other thing was practice, because you know, I'm a musician and I play guitar, and, you know, sometimes I put so much pressure on myself to be better than I am, just like that gentleman was saying before. I've been practicing, but, you know, what are you trying to achieve? The apex? I mean, every day is its own gift. And if you're just going back to basics and practicing over and over the same things, you're going to be a pro at that. It doesn't matter how advanced you are, right? So be content in the sometimes what we consider boring, but just that practice over and over. So that's beautiful that you address that with him. I think he's putting so much pressure on himself to be, I don't know.
It's natural. A lot of people. I read a beautiful quote by Amma, the hugging saint in India. She's
Yeah.
actually a living saint. And she said something about just be patient, keep
Yeah.
doing the practice. One day the grace will come, you know?
I love that.
So, and I was just like, that's it. Just some days you just, you know, you're just doing it, you know, but in one day, and I'll say it, like I'll have a day where it's another loka. Loka is a plane of consciousness where it's like ananda, it's bliss. It's the weirdest thing. Like I'll just like look at every exchange I have with anyone throughout the day, like it's so connected, it's so beautiful. I'm so like hyper grateful and hyper aware of what a blessed life I'm living and breathing. And then the next day I don't have that. And I don't know what I did different that day to make that happen. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, how it's me. I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I say that, I was like, but I don't know how it happened, you know?
I want that again. I want that same thing every day, but that's not reality, right? It's like going to Big Sur or in the mountains and you're feeling that connection. And then you come back to the city life and it's like, you want to carry that with you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a good reminder is those moments, those days, like you just expressed you had, is something that you can carry with you to get back to that.
Just
place.
Experiencing it once, you have the samskara, you have the pattern in your mind of that experience, and you can, through meditation, remember that day in that moment and awaken that experience again within the body and mind. Just by remembrance and thinking of it, you can literally activate that chemical and hormonal experience, which was the emotional experience in the body. So that's the power of these little, you know, moments when we do have it, or big moments when we do have it, remembrance. Instead of seeking the next one that's going to come and wanting more, you already have it. You have it within yourself forever. Now just reconnect with it through your remembrance, reawaken that experience. And that's a gem for life.
Is there a particular mantra to or chant that would be good for bringing that about for someone that's having difficulty kind of recalling that?
Okay, the science of mantra and the power of mantra is for sure, you know, immediately, as we were saying before, like Gayatri is always illuminating, right? That expanded consciousness. So mantras can always be chanted, but all you need to do is what I just said. I don't need to give you a mantra to do that.
Okay.
Write down, you know, today, some of the greatest spiritual experiences that you've felt, and remember them, right? And you can have a little hit list of, it could be 3, it could be 3, it could be 1, it could be 3, it could be 5, whatever that you're like, when you can close your eyes and just feel that again. And that is a capsule. People take a lot of capsules, right, to make them feel better, a lot of pills to induce relaxation or happiness, or they drink, you know, spirits or this. You have the ability to have that experience by your thoughts alone. It's there within you, it's alive. If you experienced it, it's a samskara, an imprint, an energetic pattern in the subconscious that is there. All you have to do is connect with it again. So when you're in a meditative state, you just bring it to life again within the mind. Every aspect of it, tune in to like the realizations that you had, what you felt, the different perspective that you had in that moment, and you reawaken that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi. Can you unmute? Yeah.
I can. Hi there. Thank you so much for this. This is my first time with you, and I'm enjoying this immensely, and it's come at the right time. And I hope that I'll be able to express myself clearly so you can help me. But I'm looking at the notes that I took, and the question, what do you really want? I'm in New York, so I don't have to say much more than that. I live in the crazies. And about 2 years ago, I walked out of my job because I was working 7 days a week and had 50 people under me. And since then, I have not been working. I went back to NYU to become a coach, life coach, retirement coach, transition coach. So I've been working on myself. But what's happening is I'm stuck. It's hard to start a business coming out of a pandemic. I'll do a lot online. I'm working on myself. If you see behind me is my little altar table. I was never into crystals or meditation, and I've come a long way. But what's happening is the life I was living is not aligned with who I am today. But I'm filled with a house full of people that are not aligned with me anymore. And a husband of 33 years. My daughter got pregnant at 19 and is living here with my grandchild. And there's a lot of chaos in the house. And I would prefer to become a minimalist more so. And everybody's maxing out. And I'm finding tons of stress. And I can't concentrate. I can't concentrate on what my soul wants. I can't concentrate on my larger picture, my purpose. And how do I block out the noise when these people are so intertwined with my lifestyle? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
Been there. We all have. And this is literally something, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm talking so much, but I just relate to so many female stuff. That's why I work with women, if you can't tell, because, like I have been there and most of the women that come with me, it's exactly that. 4 children, been married for 30 years, they start on this journey, they start to have conflicts with their husband, conflicts with their lifestyle, conflicts with their children, all of it. Stop comparing yourself to anything. Let everybody just be. This journey is not about anyone else but you, especially as you're in this beginning stage. And when I mean beginning, I could be the first 20 years of your practice, right? I'm in a beginning stage. If I look at my guru, I'm like, it's going to take lifetimes to, right? So only focus on, you want simplicity, you choose simplicity. You can choose simplicity in your wardrobe. You can choose simplicity in how you speak. You can choose simplicity in how you eat. All of it, you have to become so everything that you are becomes such a foundation. Once you get through that stage, and by not looking at others and how they're doing things differently and that there's a conflict and that all, without even thinking about all that, going inward, focusing on you, you start to emanate this energy because you're so rooted and grounded. These practices, this way of life, this philosophy is you now. It's not something you're trying to become. They're all waves in the brain, right? And these waves in the brain are just, they're becoming more and more predominant in the days of your life. And energy, starts to shift energy. So because you focused on you and all of these waves now are vibrating in you every day of your life, it will then start to naturally shift others. You will never have to tell them anything. Like you should, that, by the way, all these are rules. Don't say you shouldn't be eating that. You should be doing this. No, that's rule number 1. You. Focus is you. Nobody else. Peace in the environment. Everyone has their own karmic journey and their own moment in time. And it may not even be this lifetime. They will have the experience that you are having now. There is no comparison on that. So focus on you, and suddenly you'll see all of the relationships start to shift. And there becomes this ease and connectivity. I mean, I went from my mom telling me, like, because I didn't want to shop anymore, and I didn't want to do that. I was going through all these, different austerities as a yogini, because I went fully immersed, like deep dive, and it was like, you're not fun anymore. I remember when I said I can't go to late night dinners anymore, and then she's like, that's just all in your head. I was like, no, it's bad for my health. And she's like, no, it's in your head. Like this, I just continued on and on and on. Now it's like, just last night, she was like, with my nephew, she's like, I'm just so glad he has you. I'm so glad you're so peaceful. I'm so glad we all have, so it was a journey, but here I am, all the same people, family, all of it. And it's so beautiful and it's so peaceful, but I never was trying to change them. I was never focused on them. I just was fully focused and immersed in me and my practice and my transformation.
And does that appear as selfish on my part? Does that appear that because I am recoiling essentially, and then you leave everyone where they are, but where they are, if you're that entwined, their negativity, their problems.
Do you think that self-improvement and being a better mother, wife, and grandmother is selfish?
Well, my version is better. Of better is different than somebody else's version of better. And someone might think bigger is better. And I'm thinking minimalistic. I'm thinking I have too much responsibility. I have too much, health issues because of the stress that everything is dumped on. So I feel like I'm caged, I'm trapped. And I don't know, I can change myself, but I can't change others. But the way they're behaving still falls on you because you live there.
Well, that's because you're all living in the same house.
Correct.
So you want to be a coach. When I'm coaching people, I'm not telling them you should do this or that. I'm looking at their characteristics, and that's why I ask people what they want. I want to know is what they're saying. If you say I want peace, what I'm working out is, do you actually want peace? Right? I want to know when I'm working with somebody, are they telling me what they actually want or an idea of what they want? So if I come into your environment, I'd probably have an amazing time. Why? Because I'm detached from all the people in there. I don't care what they eat or what time they sleep, or if they're causing chaos, I'll be like, well, it's like a temple in here. People are shouting, people are talking. Temples are not quiet places. They're just elephants are walking around and people are screaming and there's bells going off. It's like a temple. So I would come in with a different point of view. That's why it would be fine for me. You could walk into my environment and go, wow, this is so peaceful and quiet, and you'd be fine too, right? So each one of us has to find the peace within whatever they're working on. And you want to be a coach, right? Your environment is perfect for you to learn and how to adapt to it, because then you can, right?
Interesting.
None of us are in a place where we didn't ask to be. And none of us are in a place where it's not just so perfect. I could go through 5 struggles that I'm going through right now, and they're all perfect. Have I chosen them? Somewhere I've chosen all of them. Do I want them? No, I don't want all of them, but I'm going to have to accept them. And within that acceptance, I can work on them, right? If I don't have acceptance of them, I'm just going to go struggling. There won't be any joy, and I'll just be moping around, right? So I like to think some things are divinely brought to us because we just have to go through them.
True.
And I like to think they're just perfect the way they are. And then from my own experience, I know that whenever I've looked back on something, whether it's 10 days later, 5 years later, 10 years later, they were perfect. I wouldn't have chosen them, but I did choose them somewhere. Right?
Yes, I believe in that. No accidents.
Yeah. So that goes
no accidents.
So that's a perfect example. You don't believe in coincidences and accidents. So then, because you think that, you're perfectly poised in the place that you're at, with the people that you're at, because it's our belief system that brings us to those places, right? Because belief is energy. And that's why you gave up your job. You're still in the place you are. You know, somebody else might have got a divorce, ran off, you know, or wherever, went to Italy. You know, you didn't do any of those things. You're still there. You're committed, and yeah. But it's difficult, right?
Difficult.
But,
Yes.
and you'll get over all of the things you just said today because you really want it, and another set of difficulties will come in because they're just lining up for all of us in a perfect way, because otherwise, what are we doing here? We day-to-day things, right? Day-to-day things become mundane because they don't have purpose. But the day-to-day things, as soon as they have purpose, we will try to work them out, right? They just become mundane if they just were like, what's that about?
Correct. And that's what paring down my life should look like to me. Less of the mundane, less to care for inanimate objects that I don't need.
Okay, you start to detach from all of it, but maybe because you live in the house with your husband and everybody else, it would disturb them to get rid of them. So you
can't imagine.
So you
can't imagine.
Your practice is to be simplistic within the chaos of too much stuff, right? So it's like, can you be, let's say they're not, but let's say they were hoarders. Can you find the peace within, you know, the people who are hoarding because you want simplicity? As soon as you find peace within that, you don't even see the stuff anymore.
That's so interesting because Kabbalah says, why is this in my story? And I ask that to myself all the time. Why is this in my story?
Because I'm open to it. I've invited it. You know, nothing ever happened to me. That I can record that I didn't have somewhere in my consciousness. You know, we always talk about what have our ancestors passed down. We don't know, but we do know what our parents passed down to us. We can do something about that, not by asking them to change, but by reflecting. And luckily we have each other, reflecting on, hey, my dad did this, I'm doing some of that, or I'm doing it completely like he did. What am I going to do about it? Right?
That makes sense. And the takeaway I'll bring with me from this conversation is don't should all over people.
Don't quote me on that.
I'm not going to should all over people anymore.
Yeah. You know, the nice thing is when we gather, Evelyn was saying we were having summer intensive here, and the Sandy came as well. We have each other to go through things and compare and show and think. We need community. We really do. We've become such separatists in our living and then in our minds to a point. We used to sit around and gather, you know, as tribes and people and work things out and lend a hand, and just talking about it or having somebody just next to you eased everything. And now we're trying to do it alone. That's the toughest part, right? So just reading about it won't, you know, always help, you know, but all of these things are different tools. So what we do is we use things, but you're not alone going through this. Each one of us is going through their thing. But at different times, they're different things, right? And that's why we reach out. We're in the Facebook group together. Some of us, some of us consult. So we're always picking each other's brain. But ultimately, we just have to jump in there and practice. Otherwise, you know, we'll be in a frustrated place all the time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're always here, so reach out.
I will reach out.
Lovely. All right.
Welcome to the satsang, Marsha.
Yeah.
It's nice to see.
Yeah. I have to. One moment, Martin, just one moment, because somebody has a question here that hasn't asked yet. Yeah. Hi, Manisha. you want to ask your question?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Thank you, both of you. It's very insightful, some really wonderful messages. I have a very practical question. A few years ago, you were doing a trip to India, you may recall. I think it was a regular thing. So I just want to know, is that something you might consider doing again?
Well, we only did it once.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So I picked it up the first time when I first heard of you.
Yeah, we did it once. We kind of do things unorthodoxly. We don't do things like just one after the other, like Martin was talking about practices. India is very close to our hearts, and it's something that kind of calls us. And when it calls us, we feel that it's calling you and the tribe, and then we say, let's do it. So we haven't been called to do one yet. So
It also has been, right, I went to India last December for the first time since 2019, right? Because of the pandemic. So Yogi and I haven't been back together since 2019. So also we aren't going as much. I think when that starts to weave its way back into our lives again, when it's easier to travel, even when I went, it was really difficult getting the tests, you know, within, I don't even know, I think 12 hours before flying, I had to have a negative test and try doing that in a village in India, right? So, or at Bangalore airport, that was crazy. And then wondering, oh my gosh, well, what if I do test? What am I going to do now if I test positive in Bangalore airport? So anyway, all that's lifting and the ease is happening. So let's see what happens. I'm especially tuned in to these kind of journeys. So it'll come, I'll feel it. When the collective community, I'll feel it from all of your hearts, and it'll naturally come, and we'll do a gathering.
Yeah, it's a very specific, it's not a, you know, obviously a touristic thing, but it challenges you. And the people we took, I think we only took 11, 10, 12 people. Each one was challenged in very different ways, because what you're saying, and I in a kind way always say to people, wait till India invites you over, don't go uninvited. If you're a tourist, no problem, go eat, see sights and all that. But if you specifically say, I want to learn and I'm going there, India has and the way we do it is we sit in a temple town for whatever, 7 days. You have nothing to do but look at yourself, right? And from inside, you would definitely know what you want, because it would just keep shedding daily. We do fire rituals, we do, you know, sit for hours. So a person has to be in that place where they say, I totally surrender, I'm yours, you know, to the gods or your God or whoever, whatever you believe.
It's definitely a spiritual retreat, a deep immersion, you know, really kind of, without a doubt, it is considered from all of the holy men of this kind of sacred Shakti temple that anyone that comes here, especially for us Westerners, because there are no Westerners there, it is meant for them to come here. And every person had a very profound kind of transformational shift in their life from that experience. Different, and each was their own.
So
I appreciate that, because I do go to India a lot, but this one, it just didn't happen when you did organize it for me, unfortunately. But that I just was really keen, ready maybe to go on this sort of journey, which isn't about tourism or holiday or anything. It was just for me, really. But yes, well, I hope that you will be able to do
well, you've planted a seed.
If all of you who want to go start thinking about it, then it will come stronger to us as well, and then we'll find ourselves suddenly going.
Once this video goes live, let's see what you've created. I'll be like, guess we're going to India in 3 months.
Good, as long as I get first dibs.
Oh, it can happen very quickly.
Yes, but it did. Last time it did. I just came back from the village and I said, it's time, let's bring everyone.
And
And he,
within,
as he does, was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's time.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, welcome. Okay, we're getting,
Sandy had her hand up.
we'll take a couple of quick ones and then we're going to call it a wrap. Hi, Martin.
Hi again. I just want to say for all air-related issues, I had facial alopecia years ago, and brewer's yeast cured me in 1 week. I had big spots, and in 1 week, for facial alopecia and hair loss, my mother also took it. It's brewer's yeast, like B vitamins, but
Brewer's
especially
yeast.
brewer's.
Yeah, brewer's yeast.
It's good for regrowth because the body thinks, the immune system thinks that follicles are suddenly enemies or something, and it attacks the growth process. But when you feed it with this, I don't know, there's something inside brewer's yeast
Yeah,
that tells the nervous system it's okay, follicles are part of us, leave it go.
yeah, it has a lot of B vitamins in it.
Oh, B vitamins. Yeah, B vitamins is great.
Yeah, that's why she was talking about the multivitamins. So because it has a lot of B vitamins, but that's a good idea as well. Thanks for sharing that. Camille. Hi, Camille.
Namaste, Camille.
Hi, good morning. Let
Hi.
me turn my video on. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I have a question about something that keeps surfacing for me in my life that I think is a little underrated in terms of a conversation topic, and that's on classic like underperformance. And just always performing under your abilities. And I know that that's, for me, I feel like it's connected to self-esteem, but it definitely gets in the way of, like, with these spiritual practices, you know, it's all about practice, practice, practice. And, you know, if you are really suffering from self-esteem issues, it can really get in the way of, you know, performing and like helping yourself. So I don't know if like Ayurveda has a take on like underperformance linked to self-esteem issues, particularly in like adults, right? So I don't know, just curious to know your thoughts.
So in my work, so I'll go more yogic perspective and then he'll go more Ayurvedic perspective. Well, anyway, it's always fun. It will help by starting with really small goals, not big ones, achievable ones, and completing them one at a time. In fact, even in the beginning of this Sankalpa series that we were talking about, in the beginning of this satsang, it's our recent series now on intention. So start with small intentions, whether it is, I will do 10 minutes of practice every day. I don't know how big or small or what's most important to you, or it could be, fasting is a great way to start to really increase your self-esteem. People think it's so difficult, and you do a 1-day fast and then they're like, wow, I got through that. And then they feel all the benefits from having done that. And then it builds your self-esteem. It also increases your willpower. If you watch this series, I really go into it increasing the Shakti within, right? Which is also the power of creation. So it'll increase your Jnana Shakti, your power of knowing and wisdom. It'll increase your Isha Shakti, which is your willpower. It'll increase your Kriya Shakti, which is the action to take and fulfill and not underperform. So, and the three of them together, whatever intentions you set, you realize because you have increased these three energies within through the practice. So I would think what will work for you is just start with really smaller, break down even a bigger intention to smaller. We talk about that in the series, and just start realizing something one intention at a time. And I promise you, when you realize when the first one is done and you did it, you set an intention, a goal, and you did it. You're like, oh, I did that. You're going to change a pattern in your head, because the underperformance is literally an energetic pattern within your mind. You need to change that pattern. So I want you to have a full performance realization. So set an intention that you will fully do, and then boom, you've created a new pattern within your head that is one that performed or overperformed, right? And then you have that, as we were talking about earlier, remembrance. Once it's within the mind, it's real and it's there within the subconscious. And then you do it again for another one, and again and again. And before you know it, the pattern shifts. And underperformance is overridden by performance, at least reaching the goals, right? Yeah.
Well, you also got to know yourself. Are you an overachiever or are you an underachiever? Because an overachiever often feels that they are an underachiever. Right? So when we coming back in full circle to the beginning of this conversation about balance, if I'm an overachiever and I keep pushing myself and I create more heat and fire and what we call rajas, then we're living in an imbalance. So this is why it's connected to the question, what is it you want? Do you want to live in balance and reach your goals? Or is your goal too far out of reach because it's going to make you imbalanced? Right? This is why we ask ourselves these questions. So when I'm playing sports, for example, I never feel that I'm reaching my potential because my potential is always greater than my willpower. Right? So I personally noticed that. So I'm always looking up, trying to reach somewhere. So I had to balance myself. I had to say, but why are you playing this? You're not going to start becoming a world champion. I'm missing joy. I need to bring joy to balance out that overachieving thing as an athlete, let's say, because so in you've got to say, am I first an overachiever or an underachiever? If I'm an underachiever, I have to bring what Jema said, willpower to it. I have to do these practices, come up. If I'm an overachiever, I need to find something that balances me out, right? So those are two distinctive things to look at as well. But joy has to be slotted in there. Health has to be slotted in there. And that's why I was talking about looking at your whole lifestyle and saying, I use the example of weight loss at the beginning. Let's use your example of, achievement. Within your lifestyle, you have to have all the things of health and exercise and diet and practice and work and family and relationships and achievement. It all has to be part of your lifestyle. If you only look at achievement, it's going to create an imbalance in your life. So just out of curiosity, would you say you're an overachiever or an underachiever?
I would say, looking at over the last 35 years of my life, I would say I'm a classic underachiever. Okay. And I do know that maybe I have like high expectations at times, but ultimately I've seen where I start something and then I don't complete it, right? Or I start real enthusiastically and then I half-ass halfway through, and then it has really negative and severe consequences. And you kind of spoke about like the whole person, relationships, work, and every one of those facets, friendships, everything, it shows up. It's always like this half-ass kind of attempt at some point, and then it just kind of teeters off. And so I've really been like looking at that and going to my prayers and my altar with that, because it keeps coming up like every night. I'm a Vata, by the way. So every night at like 3 or 4 in the morning, I wake up and it's like, sometimes it's terror. It's like, oh my God, I'm 36 and I'm still struggling with this thing. But I just choose to sometimes go to my altar and prayer at that time.
Vata.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vata, the energy tends to do things very quickly and then fizzle out. That's the nature of Vata, right? So 100-meter runners are Vatas. They can run, but they can't do 400 meters.
No.
Just
But they can do 100-meter.
yes.
And that's what I'm saying. You just have to start small
Mhm.
with whatever the goals are. You know what I mean? And then you'll start to shift energy, shift patterns within the mind, energy within the body and mind, just by starting small. Please try the Sankalpa series. It's all up live. Go through it slowly, and I really hope that we see you at the next satsang and hear of your experiences, because we talk about that, about even breaking it down and going smaller, and what happens. And we see this with all the people that we work through. You'll transform your life. That you don't have to be the next 35 years victim of this. You can end this now. You can. You absolutely can right now, if you want to.
Yeah, and if you're, the analogy of a high jumper, if you're training to become better and better, the bar has to be lower. It's not the bar is lower, it's a bad thing. It's training you to jump over it and then raise it a little bit. Like you said, I'm raising the bar too high and then I fail. Of course, because you haven't practiced jumping at the lower level yet. Or if you're a 100-meter runner and you want to train to become a 400-meter runner, you have to start to run differently. So from everything you said is, you're just chasing all these different things, but you're not doing it at your level. Ayurveda says we come into the world with a certain capacity. Our bodies have a certain capacity, our minds have a certain capacity, and spiritually we have a certain capacity. If we don't nurture ourselves to do more, and we just go at it, we're making our immune system less, we're making our brain power less, and of course we burn out, or we just fizzle out. So you ask yourself, first of all, what is it I want? At what level do I want it? And if I'm setting the bar too high, I first have to train. And it's just training. Training is practice, right? We don't sit with beginner and say, well, okay, sit for meditation for an hour, I'll see you in a bit. Right? Because after 5 minutes, they're going to get up and they can't sit there and then they'll leave.
Yeah.
Right? So you're doing that to yourself. Everything within it. And then what's going to happen is you're going to find that you're better at something and you need to train harder at other things. Don't put everything in the same category. Right? Start to separate them and say, I'm actually very good at this. I'm at this level. At this other thing, I'm at this level. At this other thing, I'm at this level. We do that. We don't just say, oh, somebody asked me to go do something or play with certain people. I went, yeah, my health is more important to me. I'm not going to go risk that. So I understood my level. Although I play that game and I'm good at it, I had to put my level in perspective for a moment and say, yeah, I'm not willing to tear a joint or something doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's all you need to do is put everything into in its place.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Namaste. So I think we're going to call that a day for now. Glad you all joined us. It's always lovely to see your faces.
So good.
Hear your voices. Know all about you and what you're doing, and we're really always so filled with joy when we communicate with you all, if it's daily, monthly, biannually, whatever. And we're always here. So if you have our email, send us an email. If you on Facebook, share there, however it is, just always communicate. No, we're here. This is what we do every day. We do it for ourselves. We're happy to do it for you as well. So, and yeah, we'll see you very soon.
We love you.
We love you very much.
Have a beautiful day. Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste.